computer. Okay. So good afternoon and welcome to a Skillathon session. Uh, Masai School is a place where you can launch your coding career. We are a 0 to 1 school and we always believed in holistic development. As part of the holistic development, we have an initiative called Skillathon, which focuses on building your communication skills, cognitive thinking skills, uh, behavioral element, and all towards becoming a competent programmer. As you all know that we focus on three areas: the skill set, tool set, and mindset. And the ratio in which I believe is 70-20-10. 70% is what mindset that controls the 20% of the skill set, and 10% is what the enhancement that you can do with the tool set. Many of us get paranoid about learning new tools, but it has only limited capability because you need the skills to make the tool work. But ultimately, what drives is the mindset that we need to build upon it. That is why we at Masai School call this not as a soft skills, as a catalytic skill or a life skill. It is a catalytic skill because it enhances your progression within the organization or whichever domain you are, and they are life skills because doesn't matter which industry that you work for, which domain that you work for, as long you have these skills, they become your life skills. And it is a developmental journey, and it is not learned in one day, one session, 1 week, or a month. Throughout your life, whichever the soft skills that we are talking about, it is continuously enhanced. Learning, relearning, unlearning is the way of life. So just step back. We looked at achievement orientation as a very important trait that an individual must possess if he has to be a successful in whatever field he is in. And you remember this when we typically look at individual who demonstrate this trait. At the surface level, what you see is this individual is very ambitious, he's determined, and he's self-disciplined. No brainer. The moment you interact with an individual for some time, you watch him closely, this person who's achievement oriented person is highly ambitious, determined to achieve the goal, and he's also self-disciplined. You will also, if you go one level lower, you will see him very adaptable. He's adaptable to various different circumstances. He's not worried about external changes because internally he's very strong, because he's very flexible and he's accountable for what he needs to deliver for it. If you go a little level 3, a deeper level, and look at very closely, this comes, adaptability, flexibility comes because he's so confident to learn what is required to deliver the result, and continuously is in the mode of improvement orientation, and he's also solution driven. So he looks out for solution, don't get bogged down by the problems. So today I'm going to introduce to a topic called learnability, a very important topic in today's context. And just like you have IQ, which is an intelligent quotient, then after many years, many decades, they came up with EQ, which is emotional quotient. The recent quotient, which is in the last 5 to 10 years, is a learning quotient. That is, how much does an individual has an ability to learn, is what becomes. Today, one of the important areas at Masai School is how well an individual can learn new topics is very important, right? If somebody has a learnability quotient, it doesn't matter what background he comes from. As long as he has the basic clay of math and logic, we firmly believe that he can learn coding, because this learnability is extremely important and it is a quotient. So let's talk about learnability here. Uh, I just want to share some statistics that's going around. Up to 65% of the jobs Generation Z will perform doesn't even exist. That's you are called Generation Z. I'll talk about different generation that has lived so far. Sociographic people classify people into different basis on the time, not just the time, but also certain outlook that they had. So the Generation Z, that is your generation who were born after 95 and after. Anybody before 95 here? Anybody before 1995 here? Anyone? Hardly anybody would be in this batch, right? So most of you are called Generation Z. You're called the Gen Z. Okay. Now let's look at it. What we are saying is 65% of the jobs that is going to come up doesn't even exist yet. So you have decades of working to do, and most of the jobs are doesn't even exist today. up to 45% of the activities that you are going to perform will get automated using new technologies. This is the most important element that you must all listen to. This won't necessarily means fewer jobs. What it means is new jobs will require different skills. Now that is the key. How do you have the ability to learn new skill? Now, if you pick this up at very early in your life and you are mentally prepared that I need to learn, keep on learning new things to stay relevant and to grow in my career, nobody can stop you. And many people don't have this skill. And many people thought once I'm done with my education, college education, I'm done with this. No more learning new things. But in today's context, no, because 65% of the jobs which is going to come doesn't even exist, and 45% what you're doing will be replaced by new technology. Now, if you look at it, this is the Americans, how they classified. See, US has a lot of data points. India is just becoming data-oriented country. US has always maintained data even before the advent of digital technologies. They were capturing data very strongly. US believes in data a lot. Now, people who were born between 1880 and that period was called lost generation because they're no more now. And then it is called the greatest generation because they lived in a period where they faced the World War One and Two. And then they came the baby boomers, Gen X, Y, and Z. Don't worry about it. I just want you to give a flair of it, but I'm going to talk about the Indian context. The Indian context, the veterans are the ones who were born between 1920 and 1945. If they are alive today, they are typically, we are talking about what, 55 plus 20, 75 years plus. So most likely they would be your grandparents, maybe my parents, or in that age, right? Or even more. So they are veterans, they were born before independence. Okay. So I want you to understand this. See, this is something, all these inputs will make you a rounded personality. And this is how you have to learn few things that will help you to look at perspectives in a different way. Tomorrow you may be having a product meet, and then you can bring in some elements of this. So veterans. Then we have the free gen who are born after 45, like my father born in 47. So they were born during this period. It was post independence, believed that concept of lifetime employment. Most of the people who were born this, they did their graduation and they came into the market between 1965, 1970 to 1980. They believed in public sector, they believed in government jobs, they believed in one job, one wife, maybe two kids, one city, one home, one vehicle, one car, maybe a distant dream. Are you trying to understand what I'm saying? Because that is how they were, and most of them are retiring now. People who came in, they would have retired, and very few people, even if he's born in 1960, he's almost 60 years, they are retired. So 20% of the workforce, it is a old data, and there is a free gen. Then we have the generation X, 1961 to 1970. They went through a phase called socialism to liberalization, and they saw the upswing of the economy, which was coming up because slowly privatization was coming up. They saw when they entered the market, it was around 1990. The economy was opening up, the jobs were available, so they account for a larger section of audience today. The E-Gen, that is, I am from the E-Gen, I am a 75 born, right? Now, when I graduated, economy was opened up, private sector was there, banks were privatized, so many things were happening, and it was a frantic pace, the economy was growing. And then the Gen Y between the 1981 to 1990, because when you became a teenager, the mobile was available with most of them. And of course, then we have the Generation Z, which is born 1995 onwards. So 1995 onwards, so the maximum age we are talking about is 25, 26. So in this audience would be anywhere between 20 and 26. Are you able to understand why I'm giving you this context, friends? Because if you look at it between the baby boomers, Generation X, largely people said that it's fine that once I graduate, I'll be getting into a job and I continue the same with whatever I have learned. But today it is changed. So what is employability? See, one thing, it is important whether any generation it is, all of us need jobs. So what is employability here we are talking about? When new skills become in demand, please listen to it carefully. When new skills become in demand as fast as other skills become extinct, when the new skills become in demand as fast as other skills become extinct. Let's say javascript becomes in demand as the other skills become extinct. Can you give me a tech stack or a technology which has almost become an extinct? Let me see how many of you can think of it. Can you give me one example where PHP employability is less about what you already know, more about your capacity to learn? I think it's beautifully summed up. What is employability? When the new skills become in demand as fast as other skills become extinct. PHP employability is less about what you already know and more about your capacity to learn. Today, you're talking about JavaScript. We don't know 5 years down the line what could be there, right? Today, we are talking about what is the framework that you use for backend? Node.js, isn't it? What is it that you use? Yeah, Node.js, right? Now, we never know what's going to be 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line. And if you want to be in tech for the next 25 years, it is not about what you know, it is about your ability to learn new things. That is the employability. Have you ever thought how you identified about emerging trends, right? Today, we are talking about so many emerging trends: artificial intelligence, data science, machine learning, VR, right? Absolutely, virtual reality. Then you talk about 3D printing, 3D printing. Actually, there is ever widening gap between what we need to learn and what we actually learn in a traditional way. Unfortunately, the colleges have not been caught up. Colleges are still teaching 10, 12, 15-year-old syllabus because nobody pushes us, because the professors and the lecturers themselves have a very low learnability quotient. So they're so comfortable in knowing that one particular textbook, they have been delivering it for years together. So why learn new things and why bother? I'm good in this, I'll keep delivering this. So that is where the government, the society, the industry has to work together and bring what is relevant, right? So let's look at another aspect here: the future of work. When machine become workers, what is the human role? There was a work study done by Deloitte. They are talking about 40% of US workers independent contractors by 2020. Already it has happened. White collar creative are not immune, and he's talking about it. What is my role in the future work? What are the new business models will companies need to create? How can I continue to add value to the organization I'm serving? All these questions you need to ask continuously in order to make it happen. So if you want to stay relevant, if you want to grow in your organization, if you want to grow in your career, it is not about what you have scored in 12th, what you have scored in your degree, what you have done in Masai school, but what you are going to learn today, tomorrow, what, what is relevant. Many a times what happens is we get into a field when it is at peak and then it just goes down. So you must be able to spot trends and learn it quickly so that when it is in demand, you can encash it. Now, yesterday I was just talking we are to one of my friend, and I was telling him that we are likely to launch UX as a course, and he said brilliant. And he know a classmate of his who was a mechanical engineer working in a company, and he developed this interest in UX, and then he learned on his own. And today he works for a US company based in Bangalore, Koramangala, and he is paid in dollars. He's paid in dollars, and that is the negotiation capability he had. He said that, look, you pay $130,000 for an American, for a person working in US. How does it matter? I'm going to be available during the American hours. I'm going to deliver as much of an American. In fact, you're going to save money because I'm not going to ask you for an office space. Now he's being paid on par. Now that's because he's learned something new and is able to encash it in the current wave of things. So, sum and substance, friends, everything will change in accordance with today's longer lifespan. There is another important understanding you and me should have. I think I shared this data point some time back. When the independent India came into existence, the average lifespan at the time of birth was only 57 years. That means your average was expected 57 years only. And today we are talking about upward of 68 years pan-India. And in case of educated class and people living in cities is in excess of 71 or 72. Now, when you have to live longer, and if you don't have enough savings, you are bound to work longer to meet the financial needs, markets, and retirement. And another major change is no more you and me individual will depend on our children to take care about us, and we need to take care about ourselves. So change is constant in today's workplace, so we need to do that. And learnability will be the key in your life if you want to succeed. And to keep up, you need to keep on learning, and learning drives adaptability. Am I making sense, or do you think Yogesh is talking something totally from a different planet? मैं तो अभी 20s में हूँ. Why should I think about it? People relevant? Okay. So I'm giving you a different perspective, right? That's why I segregated this entire group into two. I expect phase two to understand this more because you can articulate whatever that we are talking about it. So imagine that if you, and this should be true, okay? And in the interview, they ask you, what are your strengths? And you say, my strength is learnability. And that guy will say, why do you say so? Let's say Ramakrishna. Why do you say Ramakrishna? And Ramakrishna says, Ramakrishna, what's your background in terms of education? ECE, okay, let's say ECE. And which year you graduated, Ramakrishna? 2020. Now let's say he says I'm learnability, and then that guy, that interviewer says that, why do you say so? Okay, I'll say a couple of reasons why my learnability is high, because I graduated with ECE background, and when I hit the market, I realized that I have limited scope, and that is where I was introduced to coding, and I took web technology as a route, and I did a bit of a course online, and then I felt that I need to invest my time into a full-fledged course, and that is where I joined Masai School, a 6 months boot camp, wherein which I went through the intensive learning curriculum, where I learned the front end and the back end and the technologies, right from HTML, CSS, Bootstrap, JavaScript. So all these made me to realize that I have learnability quotient. Now, that is different rather than saying that my strength is I'm hardworking. Tell me, friends, who on this earth will say I'm not hardworking? Please remove all these cliches like I'm hardworking, I'm sincere. But they don't cut the ice. But of course, learnability, you must back up with that. Why learnability is considered as your strength? You must give some proofs. Okay, so I'm just giving you one example here on learnability. So actually, if you look at some writings, they call it as 21st century skill. Now, every century has a new skill, and in the one of the 21st century skill is learnability. No matter where you are on the career ladder, it's important to continue learning and develop new skills. It's the only way to survive in the 21st century. It's the only way to survive in the 21st century. And for me, I'm already 46, maybe another 10, 15 years max, I may work, or maybe more. But for you guys, you have a whole lot of career in front of you. And I don't want any of the Masai School student struggling 2 years down the line, 5 years down the line, because JavaScript has been replaced by something else and you guys have not kept up with the new technologies. So I want you, all of you, to make a promise to yourself. What I learned today is relevant for today, maybe tomorrow, but for day after tomorrow, I don't know. I'll always keep an eye out in learning new technologies, new skills that will help me to stay relevant and encash the demand. I think if you make that promise, you will do it very well. If you ask my own career, one of the success for me is flexibility and adaptability, which came from learnability. Even at this age, I can learn. I can put my, first, maybe I may be a slow learner. I take a longer time, especially the tech part is concerned. But once I figure it out, I will use more than any techies can use. And that's been my strength, right? So learnability can help you to stay relevant and encash as much as possible. So let's define what is learnability. The desire and ability to quickly grow and adapt one skill to remain employable throughout their working life. The desire and ability, there are two key words here. Because many a times it is not the abilities that challenge, they lack desire. Many of them could have learned artificial intelligence, data science. अरे यार छोड़ो यार, हर 5 साल कुछ ना कुछ नया आता है, छोड़ो यार मेरे पास वक्त नहीं है. I'm sure many would have said, and today they regret because they would have seen younger folks just going in front of them. So it is the desire and ability. Ability is what? Skill. Ability is a skill, and here it is a mindset. The desire and ability to quickly grow and adapt one skill to remain employable throughout their working life. That is learnability. Okay. Definitely in any group, even in Samurai 2, there are some people who are low learners, or I would say slow learners. And there are some people who are potential learners, and there are some high learners. It happens because our own desire and ability could be at various stages to encash it. Now let's show a quick video for you. I liked it. As I told you, like you have the intelligent quotient, emotional quotient, and this company came up with a learning quotient, and it's a manpower group, and I'm going to give you a link to understand your learnability quotient. So let's watch this video first.
What am I learning?
Wow, I think a lot of things.
I do tend to read a lot. I kind of binge read and have multiple things on my iPad.
I'm going on a bike trip in Italy, so I'm attempting to learn Italian.
I might spend time even on Wikipedia and I call it kind of hyperlink learning.
I'm reading a lot about digital disruption of labor markets, automation, artificial intelligence, and the impact that will have on the workforces of the future. Helping people adapt and upskill in a rapidly changing world of work is going to be the defining challenge of our time. People often ask us, what is it that they need to do to become employable, more employable today, but also more employable in the future?
And the answer is there really is no single thing. It's really about learning and continuing that learning.
So it's not about what people know, it is more about how quickly people can learn.
To learn and keep learning is the best way to make yourself relevant in the workplace in the future.
So what we call it is learnability, which is the desire and ability to continue to learn so that you can remain employable for the long term. Learnability is critical to employability.
What I'm curious about is what personality characteristics actually make some people curious, and how can you actually encourage people to learn more?
Because employers will not be able to change out the workforce every time that something changes. They need to evolve and grow their workforce, and that's why learnability is going to be such a key element of the talent that they have within their organization.
We've come up with an assessment, the LQ assessment, and the idea here is very simple: to give people a sense of what their strengths and developmental opportunities are and help them become more curious.
I get bored easily. True.
I prefer word searches to riddles. Nope.
I like to try anything once to see what it's like. False.
I don't care how it works as long as it works. False.
The LQ assessment might superficially look like, a BuzzFeed quiz, like what 17th century philosopher should you be, or what breed of dog would you be. The difference is this actually works.
And the reason why that helps you is you understand what's a good match for the kind of work that you want to do, and it can help you figure out how to expand your learning, because the best way to learn sometimes is to do something that you're not good at.
Thinking ahead, I do get a little nervous that I don't have all the knowledge that I need in order to move forward. But I'm a planner, so it will happen.
I think it would really be something that would be great for my whole team to do, so then I can kind of tailor their development to that.
We all need to be interested in enhancing our skills on a continuous basis. So, have you taken the test, Mark?
I was the scholar, thrill seeker, and I can't remember the free thing. So it wasn't a big surprise because I felt like my mother was talking to me when I read it.
I ended up quite similar to yourself, except instead of the scholar, I was a doer.
So I saw an example of you being the doer.
To know where you stand on the learnability quotient is going to be very useful and challenging.
At Manpower Group, we encourage all individuals to focus on learnability. We believe that is the new currency.
Learnability is going to be one of the greatest predictor of career performance, career success, and the ability to have sustainable and meaningful employment during your lifetime. And that, we think, really has the power to change the world.
Okay, quick comments on the chat box. Quick comments on the chat box basis the video that you have seen. Can you use the chat box, and what is your quick takeaway on that 4-minute video? You want to take the test? Okay, sure. I will give you the link and you will take the test at the end of this session, and you will know what kind of learning person you are. Now, this comes under, there are 3 circles that you need to understand what are the determining factors of learnability. One is the desire, and the second is the ability, and actually he learns it. There are people who have a desire and they have an ability, so it is they learn superficially. But they have an ability and they learn it, but they don't have desire, then it is a frustration. But ability and learn, but they don't desire is a chore. But they have a desire and they learn, but they don't have an ability, it becomes superficial. Truly, if you want to learn anything, it requires 3. I have a desire to be a full stack developer. I have an ability to learn, and actually I learn. When I learn, when I'm meaning that I put in efforts. I have a desire, I have an ability, and I have put the efforts. Only then it becomes learning is possible. Okay, so let's look at a little more in detail. Learnability, learning roles. A little technical stuff here. Once you go through that test, you will be able to identify this. There are 9 different kinds of learners. Okay, so the extrovert and introvert, theoretical and experiential. If somebody is highly theoretical and introspective, he's a thinker. Whereas somebody is highly theoretical and extrovert, he's a planner. And similarly, you have 9 different roles. I don't want to give you full inputs now. I want you to take the test and then you will be able to understand. Okay, so your learning quotient is a summary of your learning style and a lot about your ability to adapt in a constantly changing work environment. Do you prefer a tried and true tested approach to the age-old problems, or do you plunge right in and tackling new challenges? Now, I had taken my own test. For me, it comes 3 kinds of a learner I am. I'm a doer, I'm a traditionalist, I'm a thrill seeker. Okay, I enjoy tackling clearly defined problem. You prefer playing by the rules and are unafraid of the unknown. If you truly do what it is, you will know what kind of learning person you are. So I will share this link with you at the end of this class, and you will find out what is your learnability quotient. Okay, and that is an activity that you will do before we conclude today. So I want to start with Alvin Toffler's quote here, which is a brilliant quote. The illiterate of the 21st century is not the one who cannot read or write. He's the one who cannot learn, unlearn, or relearn. Isn't it brilliant? Brilliantly put by Alvin Toffler. He says that it is not those who cannot read or write. It is the one who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. It's a very powerful way to look at what is illiterate of the 21st century. So we continuously need to learn, unlearn, and relearn. I'm learning few things today. I may have to unlearn. I might have learned something previously which is no more relevant today. And I have to relearn because I need to reskill and upskill. It is a continuous iteration that is required. Let's move forward and look at it. Some closing comments on learnability. Employees will need to retrain 10 to 14 times on an average throughout their lifespan. It's a skill of the future. If the robots are threatening some human jobs, humans need to learn new skills that will allow them to remain relevant in the future, and they need to do so regularly. Skill sets that are useful and relevant today may become obsolete 5 to 10 years from now. Look at many of the instructors who are doing classroom sessions. It is important, but today, in the last 1 year, most of them are delivering sessions on online, maybe even less. Your capacity to learn, develop, and hone new skill is crucial to employability and long-term success. So it has got two important components, as I shared: the mindset. The mindset, what kind of a mindset? I am adaptable, I'm flexible, I'm internal drive, curiosity, and endurance. This is the kind of a mindset you must have. I must figure out the process, find areas of interest, stretch yourself, learn that one thing that you have been putting off, find a friend or a buddy or a practice buddy, as I've been talking about it, learn with them, make it social. What do you mean by social? You go to Facebook or Instagram and say, hey, I'm learning how to play tabla. Hey, I'm learning how to bake a cake. I'm just giving you an example. So the very fact that you are going there, people are going to ask and they're going to give you thumbs up and they're going to encourage, or they may share some leads. Or you can just say, I'm going on a bike trip. I'm going to start a bike trip from Bangalore to Chikmagalur. Now, this is just, that's the way you make it, right? Or you can say that I'm going to learn how to make pottery. I'm going to get into pottery classes. Now, that is the way you develop the mindset for it. In a world of change, the learner shall inherit the earth, while the learned shall find themselves perfectly suited for a world that no longer exists. Right? If you are a continuously learner, you will inherit the earth. While people who said that I'm a MCOM, I'm an MTech, who find themselves perfectly suited for a world that no longer exists. So keep learning, and that is the only way you can do that. So conclusion, the future of work is changing. The way is staying relevant is through continuous learning. Learnability is about adapting and growing to add value to the things you are doing today. Recognize the way you learn and design strategies to start a learning culture. So keep learning, keep learning, keep learning. As this man said, one of the richest men in the world, the more you learn, the more you earn. And I'm sure at your age, all of you are ready to earn as much as possible. Money is important, building wealth is important, but that is not the only reason people earn. For various reasons, it could be there. So, sum and substance. Sum and substance is that, I'll just move this. Those people who develop the ability to continuously acquire new and better forms of knowledge that can apply to their work and to their lives will be the movers and shakers of the society in indefinite future, said Brian Tracy. So learnability, the only way to stay relevant in future workplace. If you don't learn, you will become irrelevant, and don't expect pay rises. In fact, you may take a pay cut. That's what happens. So the second element I want to talk to you is very interesting element. And before that, I just want to quickly use the chat mode and ask you what is one key learning of this topic called learnability? What is your one key learning on this, an interesting skill, a 21st century skill on learnability? Does it sound some bell? Ring some bell? Use your chat box and write one word or one phrase. The last 30 minutes that we have spent, what is your one key learning on learnability? Okay. Skilling. Okay. Please participate in the chat. It will help you to express yourself. Should not stop learning. Okay. Okay, somebody says that it is not about what you know, it is all about your ability to learn new things. Adaptability, change is only thing constant. There is another small topic that I want to cover, which came very strongly from one of our hiring partners. And he says, Yogesh, your Masai School students are fantastic. We are happy to onboard them. We are happy to give them an opportunity to prove, irrespective whatever the background. But this is something that I look forward, and this is very much lacking in not just in Masai School, but in the entire tech team that we hire. I don't know why it is so. And this was said by one of the CEOs of the company. And he said, can you please add in your soft skills, approachability and helpfulness? And he says that many a times I feel that tech teams are not approachable, and somehow they send a message that they're not willing to help unless it is asked formally. Right now, let's look at this interesting topic: approachability and helpfulness. Let's start with this. Now, it's a prerequisite to be a successful professional. It is not good to have, it is a prerequisite. It's a prerequisite to be a successful professional, and more so in the tech world, because tech world is highly connected and interdependent. When you build products for the country, you build products for the entire organization. Some people might use it more, some people might use it less, but 360 degrees impact you can create. No other domain has so much of impact like the tech does it. So it's a prerequisite to be a successful professional. Now let's start with being approachable. Let's start with being approachable. What does it mean? What does it mean? It looks so easy, right? You're supposed to think, what is this? It's expected, being approachable. But you will see that when you join organization, many individuals somehow they have put a tag, I'm not approachable. I'm just joking here. By the way you look at them, you feel that they've written here, there's a big signboard, I'm not approachable. So let's talk about approachability and helpfulness today. An approachable and a helpful professional does two things. One, he builds strong relationships and he ensures a healthy and a positive working environment. Now, relationship is a universal lubricant. Now, whenever there are people, whenever there are organizations with two departments, bound to have friction. Bound to have friction. When two people meet, when two departments talk, you're bound to have friction. Now, this approachability will help you to build relationship, and relationship is a universal lubricant. It ensures healthy and a positive working environment. And these two things are fundamental if you have to work in teams and if you want to collaborate to deliver high value. So let us all be more approachable. Let us be of help to each other. Now here, help, what do you mean by help? Help is something that you have and you can give it to the other person. I'm not talking about a monetary help here. Help could be as simple as giving him some information. Help could be being a little more empathetic. Help could be by lending him a hand to solve a particular problem. Help could be in being a little more patient. Help could be in listening more. Now, that is the help that I'm talking about. Okay, so let's move forward and let's look at why this is very important trait. It is an essential professional skill that gets more important as you grow up the ladder. As a leader, as a manager, I must be more approachable to my team and also to the team members from the other organization, other departments. Let's say you have a tech team. Let's take Masai School. You have admissions, you have tech and product, you have curriculum team, you have operations team, you have marketing. Now let's say that there is a person in marketing. Super important that he must come across as approachable and he's also helpful. Because admissions might need some inputs from marketing. Curriculum team might need some inputs from marketing. The placement teams may need some help from marketing. So as you grow up the ladder, it becomes even more important in the leadership position. It is a trait. What do you mean by trait? It is a behavior that most people believe they have, but very few actually do. You ask anyone, what do you think? Are you approachable? हाँ यार, कभी भी आ सकता है. I am available 24/7. But in reality, you send a message to him, he'll never respond. With a lot of difficulty, you reach out to him. He will say, I can't do this, I can't do this, I will do this, can do only so much. They are not approachable. The fact is, to say that you are approachable should not be based on your statement. It should be what your team members says, your peer group says, and people in the other departments. Is to make other people feel comfortable around you. Now, when is it that, let's say that I work with Gurunath. Now, when do you think I will go to Gurunath to ask for a help? Only when I am comfortable. If I'm not comfortable, I will avoid as much as possible, Gurunath. Am I making sense, Gurunath, here, what I'm saying here? If I'm not comfortable, I'll never approach Gurunath, and vice versa is equally same. We can feel it. The very few discussion, you can feel it. Approachability is nothing but your level of accessibility. So how accessible are you? Do you behave that you are in Himalayas kind of a person, you can be never reached, or you are a person that you bounce back immediately after whenever you are done with your session? So one is approachability, the other one is helpfulness. Now, what do you mean by this helpfulness? People always been talking, right from our childhood. You have to help others. I'm sure your parents must have told it, your elders must have told it, usko madad karo, usko help karo. Right? Now, helpfulness is what is helpfulness? Helpfulness is nothing but doing something for someone that makes their life or work easier. I ask Tasneem to help me out in structuring the frequently asked question. Immediately she makes it is helping me. Yesterday, Abhishek reached out to me and he said, sir, can you put a structure to this entire document? We made it easier. Do something that others can't do it for themselves. All of us have our own strengths, weaknesses. So if I can help somebody else, not so strong area, I'm helping them. Currently, they do not have time, but the deadline has to be met. So I'm helping them. Now that is called helpfulness, is doing something for someone that makes their life easier. Now, just I want you to put on your hat here. Being helpful. Let's say Suman, Bhargav. I'm just taking two of them, and somebody from the new admission process who are currently enrolling for the March 15th batch. A student reach out to you and he asks that, hey Bhargav, hey Gurunath, hey Suman, tell me something about Masai School Unit 1. What would you write, Bhargav? Can you write two things that you want to tell about Masai School? Forget about Unit 1. Let me make it easy. About Masai School, what would you write? Hey, I'm Yogesh. I've just cleared my MSAT. I'm giving my interviews. If I get selected, should I join Masai School? What is your take? Okay, attendance is compulsory. Kapil is saying, Gurunath is saying very helpful. Okay, can you any one of you can answer this? Any one of you can answer this question? Okay, creative initiative by grab the opportunity. Both curriculum and guiding is good, etc., etc. Now, the very fact that you share, and okay, I will make it very, very little more elaborate. I'm Yogesh. I'm from interior part of Karnataka. Actually, I finished my BTech in 2019, and I've been struggling to find jobs. And even if I get jobs, it is 10 to 15,000 rupees. I have an educational loan, and that is why I'm very keen to do this course. What do you think my chances of being successful? Just build upon it. Okay. Amol says worthwhile as long you are willing to put that hard work. Okay. You will know the difference between skill set and knowledge. Okay. Ramakrishna says that. Okay. Now, just I want you to tell me when you share these kind of answers, what state you will be in? After this discussion, imagine that you had a discussion, helpful. Okay, what does, can you expand? Confident, okay? A little more. Little more. Okay. Okay. Feels good. Can I say it makes you feel proud? Makes you feel competent, appreciated, you feel content, you feel needed, and many of us will feel happy. That is why people come back to Masai School, right? as an alumni and they want to talk to the other student. Why do we bring Mohammad Hassan? Why do we bring Kritika? Why do we bring Arunab? Why do we bring all these people? Because they feel content, they feel needed, they feel happy. Now that's very important, right? Okay, so let's move forward. How did it feel for the person who has been helped? How did Yogesh feel? When I asked, Bhargav shared something important, Amol shared something good. How did I feel as a person who helped me? I felt thankful. I felt grateful to that person. I felt cared for. I also felt happy. Did you see that? The very fact that you are approachable and you are helpful, a lot of emotions comes into play. And how much time did you have to spend? 3 minutes, 5 minutes to make somebody's life an important decision to take? Ultimately, the decision is this. Ultimately, the decision is the individual, whether to join Masai School or not. You shared your perspective. You can't force somebody to take a decision. You can give basis my experience. I felt this in Masai School. I feel this is what Masai School is all about. And he comes back and he says, hey Amol, hey Suman, thank you so much for guiding me. Today I've completed unit 1 and it's wonderful. Grateful, thank you, love, cared for, happy. That's very important. So I want all of you to make an affirmation with me on these following sentences. Please read it along with me. Okay? I am helpful. I look for ways to be of service. I care for others and myself. I look for helpful ways to make a difference to others. I'm not asking you to draw some money and give to someone. If you can do it, do it. But if you can be of value to someone, why not? Trust me, friends, there are so many opportunities. Many people don't help because they feel that the other guys might take away your opportunity. It is silly. When you help, see, teaching is learning twice. When you teach someone your own knowledge, your own concepts, your skill becomes 2x. So go out and help people. Of course, don't help them when they are doing their assessment. You remember the butterfly story I shared yesterday. They will never fly. They will remain the same way forever. But these kind of things, if someone comes and shows this resume to you, look at it and share your own inputs. How does it look like? So once again, I'm helpful. I look for ways to be of service. I care for others and myself. I look for helpful ways to make a difference. That's about helpfulness. So some of the characteristics, they show warmth and have a smile. They don't overreact to bad news, always thank people, and are more straightforward. They tell the fact, boss, Masai School ये है, तुमको काम करना पड़ेगा, प्लेसमेंट का गारंटी नहीं है, अगर 90% लोग प्लेस हो गया, जो बोलते हैं वो करते हैं. But no excuses in Masai School. Never get into plagiarism. Your only purpose is to be 996 and you have to give all in. ऐसे नहीं कि मैं इधर भी करूंगा, एमटेक को भी ट्राई करूंगा, गवर्नमेंट नौकरी भी ट्राई करूंगा, नहीं होगा. Full on, then only it is possible, right? This is what approachable is all about. As the level of approachability and helpfulness increases in an organization, the morale, the attitude, and the cooperation, the level of the team will also improve. So that is why organization wants their employee to be approachable and helpful. And this is something that they will figure it out in the conversation. And once you enter into an organization, it is very easy to identify within a week or 10 days. Please develop it. When you want to say no, you can be no. If somebody asks for a help and if you cannot do it, you can be upfront. That's why I say one of the characteristics of people who are approachable and helpful is they are direct. They're straightforward. So sum and substance, becoming more approachable will have numerous benefits in your career. You will gain access to more information faster and grow your network by being known as someone who is interesting and engaging. So thank you so much for today's session. It was wonderful talking to about 2 fuzzy topics, or actually 3: learnability, approachability, and helpfulness. Can I get a quick reaction on the chat box about today's session? And meanwhile, I will just take out that link for you. And then you can spend the next 10 minutes Oh, it's already 3:26, is it? Okay, I want you to do it in your free time and today, and let's discuss this tomorrow. Let's discuss this tomorrow. Okay, that's learnability quotient. Please do it and see what kind of a learner you are. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Catch up with you all today. I create the team. Yes, it's a little late now, Gurunath. I will create it tomorrow. Please remind me the first thing when we start a session. Okay, thank you.